And hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Sharing Your Journey series. And so today I have someone really cool on. So he will go by the name of Mcsheer, and he's from London in the UK, like I am. And so I'm really happy to have him on, only because I obviously went on his and Pantyhose King podcast a little while ago now. I was literally going to say like a couple of weeks ago, and it's not. It's a little while ago now. And obviously, I kind of wanted just to get him on and basically hear all about his hosiery journey. So, Mr. Mcsheer, hello, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. And I just want to, I'm just going to get started with it. So, please tell me, how did you get into hosiery? And please share just your journey, just your whole journey. I'd love
Well,
to hear this.
great. Well, listen, it's lovely to be here and speak to you again, Soni Panda. Um, it's a real pleasure. And yeah, my journey overall is huge, as I'm sure you're used to with lots of the other people. But it started, you know what? I think similarly to lots of other people, for me even more so. It started so early in my life
Mm,
that I think it was before I could even speak. It was I remember I know that we moved house at a certain age. I was about 7 years old.
yeah.
And before, so in the years building up to seven, I was in another house where I had to share a bed and a bedroom with my brother and sister and a bed with my brother. And I
Mm,
used to get told off for what they called wiggling my bum during the night.
okay,
So
yeah.
I'm 6 years old or younger. And I feel like I was way younger because I remember somehow knowing that I was getting told off for doing that, but no one ever knew that I was running to the bathroom and stealing pairs of tights out of the laundry and then putting them back before anyone knew in the
Yeah.
night. And they would be like, he's wiggling his bum again. Now, I know that sounds quite funny and odd, but that was the sort of language I think my siblings and I would use. And I'd sit there going, and I think my parents would be like, oh, he's just laughing it off. And they half said, oh, maybe you should lie still in bed, lie still in bed. But then what I knew as a 5 years old or younger boy was
Yeah.
that actually had this compulsion, this impulse to run and steal tights. Now, I don't know why I knew, you know what I mean? I don't know why I knew I had
Mm,
to keep it a secret. I have no memory of that. And so that's how it started, I think. What was also happening at that part of my life was I was very aware of, I was always aware of when women and girls were wearing them
yeah.
with a sort of feeling of awe, admiration, and jealousy. But
Mm,
all of the above, lots of positive feel. It wasn't just jealousy, but positively. I can't remember at what point. I don't know why I didn't just wear them and get. I don't have a memory of someone going, "That's not for you." I sort of knew.
yeah.
And I remember to the point where I got jealous of even had the feelings of jealousy towards like dolls in the shop. If I saw like the pink section with Barbies or Polly
Yeah.
Pockets or whatever it was in the late 80s, early 90s, I'd see like dolls with tights on, and I started to
Yeah.
wish I was in the doll cage box so I could be wearing its costume. Or I'd see a cartoon or a cartoon character with like white tights on or something, and I'd be like, I wish I was that. So it was just a lot of these feelings, and they
Okay.
were very intense at a very young age, and that was definitely the beginning. And of course, my primary school teachers, I used to always get told that I was to get told I'd be running my finger down the back of her calf, or when a woman wears high
Yeah.
heeled
Yeah.
shoe, there's that gap between where the shoe curves over the toe and up, then it's open. I used to touch that part of her foot and just be not even aroused, like when I was talking about rolling around in my bed at night, but so extremely happy and comfortable, and I just know zinged up. It just makes me. I felt so good touching her ankles, and it was so harmless. You're like 4 or 5 years old in
Yeah.
reception at school, right? But I remember my mum would sometimes say that I used to say pretty legs. And mum used to say, oh, I used to talk about women when they wore tights and you'd call it pretty legs. And I was like, wow, I don't quite remember doing that myself, but that's something I
Oh.
hear her tell that story now. And I'm like, God, you have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah. If only
So
you
I, yeah, pretty legs was how I described it. And I clearly
knew.
had an obsession for God knows what reason, and somehow knew that I wasn't allowed because I always lived in
Mm.
I used to, as I got older, people used to say, "Oh, do you like that?" And I'd be like, "No, no." Do you know what I mean? I had a
Yeah.
defensive
Yeah.
no towards it. So that was my early memories. I got put into a ballet class once, me
What's
and
that?
one other boy, and then a load of girls, and I couldn't bear it that I had to wear shorts. I agreed to go because I thought I was going to, just harking back to that story I told you about dolls and girls and
Yeah.
prettiness and all that.
Yeah.
I didn't care about dancing, but I thought if I go, I'll dress up like one of those sort of fairies I keep seeing in tutus
Yeah.
and leotards.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I got there, and all the girls were dressed like that, and I loved that. But they stuck me in a pair of shorts and a t-shirt, and I didn't have the confidence to be like, I don't want to wear this. I want to wear that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that, yeah. Is that a good enough answer to where it all started? Paint the right
Yeah,
picture.
yeah, no, of course. It's just really interesting to hear. And I say this every time just because everyone has a different story. Some are quite similar and some are just like, wow, like with yours, it's like I've never heard that like that before. So it's like, oh my God, okay, like this is a whole different kind of insight and a different perspective. And it's really fascinating. Like,
What I've always found confusing, and even till now, having come, I mean, there's a whole big gap between then, now, and everything in between.
yeah.
I'm in my late 30s now, but the what was confusing when I started to talk more about this to partners or people like you or other people that are into it,
Hmm.
everyone says that they talk about being 8 or 9, and then they get into their teens and it starts becoming sexual. Like,
Hmm.
although I know I got turned on dressing up in nude tights
Yeah.
from the wash basket as a boy because I didn't understand why I pulled them on and rolled around on my front, and it made me. I can now look back and I'm like, oh my God, I was getting off on that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just like liking, because I did genuinely love touching other women and admiring girls in them, but it was that extra thing about when I had it on before I hit puberty that
Yeah.
I was having my first erections. Do you know what I mean? It was like,
Yeah.
wow. Sorry. So yeah,
No,
I
it's
don't know if this
fine.
is
It's
X-rated.
fine. Just
But,
wow, it's like I said, it's just very insightful, and I'm sure obviously because so like me and Mcsheer kind of like just spoke beforehand, but it's like when we was obviously just mentioning it, it's different to hear, and I think the thing is, it's the amount of different kind of walks of life that will like listen to this video or watch this video will sort of they'll either kind of resonate or they won't. They'll kind of be like, oh my God, that was kind of like me, or not. So it's kind of it's just it's different to hear, but in a
yeah,
really good way. In a
yeah, yeah,
sense. And I suppose because obviously we've never really sort of spoken about the sexual aspect of it kind of before, like a lot of people haven't for their own reasons, which is fine, but it's just I suppose it's just nice just to sort of hear it's just different. I think that's what it is. So it's like I've got
yeah.
a smile on my face because it's like, oh my God, it's so different. But
Amazing. I'm your first ever highly charged
yeah,
6-year-old.
yeah, God. But no,
But
I
yeah,
can understand the reason, like I can see your perspective on it
yeah.
in
Isn't
that.
it funny that it was that item of clothing though? It wasn't like a bra, or at that point it wasn't even about
Hmm.
cross-dressing either. It was like just that item. Although I was loving the whole package on women, staring at my teacher's
Yeah.
calves, skirt, ankles, her voice, her earring dangling and touching her neck, her nail polish, all these like
Yeah.
close up, extremely feminized, quote unquote, feminine pictures that you
Mhm.
can pick off. We're all making me. Would I can look back and go, wow, yeah, this is why I'm so passionate and into this stuff because
Yeah.
for whatever reason at that age I was obsessed with it, and you weren't sort of allowed. Like I say, I haven't got an exact time when some big
Mhm.
alpha male father was like, "That's not for you," but just generally, I remember knowing that it was not allowed. I remember
Yeah.
seeing Lily Savage on TV and the guys being like, "Turn that," even the women, the mums being like, "Oh,
Yeah.
what's this? Men don't." They're saying horrible homophobic things as well, and it's like, oh, you just know that it's not for you, and you grow up going, right, what are the boxes I do need to tick if I'm going to be
Mhm.
accepted as a guy? And then we get into your teen. I got into my teens, and
Yeah.
yeah, at my secondary school, as you'll know, so I've spoke to a lot of Americans about this, and they do have similar stories. But as you'll know, in the UK, the girls in secondary school, part of the uniform was to wear like 70 denier black ties
Yeah.
or navy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I went in year 7, so the age of 11, right up to year 11, that was uniformed,
Mhm.
and the girls pretty much 100% of the time wore that outfit. And again, this jealousy kicked in.
Yeah.
And now approaching puberty years, and I was like, God, and I didn't want to even admit it to myself because I did have this hugely, I knew I fancied girls. I had this deep desire to want to have sex with them and touch them dressed like this.
Yeah.
But I just had this equally powerful thing where I was like, oh my God, I want to wear those clothes. I want to
Yeah.
cross my legs like that. I want to talk to them about where they're buying that makeup from. I want to, and I wanted to, but never without putting on the tights. That was always like the spearhead of the desire. I could do just that and nothing else, and couldn't do anything else without doing that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I get that.
So yeah, I went through that and got my first girlfriend at about like first proper girlfriend where we kissed and sort of tried stuff when I was quite old. Actually, I was probably about 16. I
Okay.
was 16, and I never told her at this point. Never really told anyone.
Yeah.
Still at this point, and but I did. It was the first time I had a girlfriend that I kissed in public at school, like on the playground. And
Yeah.
at lunch, we sat together, and I put my hand in her. I used to put my hand in between her crossed legs. Do you know what I mean? And that's sort of
Okay.
acceptable.
Yeah.
It's just what guys do to their girlfriends. But she didn't know, and I don't think only I knew at the time. I was like, this is all I need. I actually just want to sit here with my hand in
Yeah.
between her thighs while she's wearing tights.
Yeah.
It's quite it feels, I know it's quite objectifying. I'm telling you all this, and everyone listening, I do obviously got an, I don't think, I don't intellectually and cognitively want to objectify women and girlfriends. I'm just talking about my animalistic
Yeah.
desires in these moments. I needed to do that. It was brought me huge
Yeah.
amounts of pleasure. And yeah, as a relationship, we tried having sex, but I didn't even know what fetish was. I didn't know that kink existed. I
Oh,
didn't know
okay.
that I had a kink. All I knew was that I was really nervous about when I'd been around other people talking about sex and magazines. This is like the 90s, so it was all
Mm.
FHM loaded magazine, and everyone's like, it was all talking about tits and boobs and stuff. And I was
Yeah.
just like, does no one else like these legs? I mean, yeah, a woman's body is appealing to me, but it really doesn't turn me on. However, her legs in tights
Yeah.
does more than anything, like just unbelievable. So I had there was conflict going on. Couldn't work it out, and yeah, I got to about 17, and then I had an affair with a teacher,
Oh
and
wow.
I
Okay.
yeah, sorry, that's I knew, I
That.
knew
Oh my God.
I had to get juice. That's why I sort of started with the teenage stuff, because it does in at the time
Wow.
didn't realize it in hindsight. Bit of a gear change there, but also part of this hosiery obsession because it
Mm.
was the first person I told. But sorry, there's a little in years just before secondary school, I'd gone on a youth hosteling trip, and the head
Mm.
teacher had made a joke about on youth hosteling, all the boys do all the chores. This is for the girls, and all the boys do all the chores, and it was sort of laughed about. And I couldn't cope for some reason. I just remember getting really scared that it was the truth.
Mm.
But you know what? And everyone's like, "Hey, the boys will do all the cleaning, boys will do all the chores." And the head, I won't say her name because it will, in case
Yeah.
someone knows. But she said, "Oh, don't worry, all the boys will do all the chores." And everyone just sort of laughed. It was quite competitive.
Yeah.
And you know what, Sony? It's the first time that I can look back and go, "Wow, that's why I am a submissive male as well." I got terrified, but I also got really turned on. Sat on the bus, imagining all the girls having a great time and me having to like ask them if they're okay, bring them breakfast,
Yeah.
do all this like cleaning, do all the work and not have, and also sort of not be man enough to
Mm.
be a man. All this stuff was going on with my sort of insecurities. But I just remember the head teacher, she just confidently sat on the bus and went, "Don't worry, all the boys will do all the chores." And everyone, "Hey," and I just was like trembling with fear and arousal. Sorry, I say that because this affair that I wound up having with a teacher. You know what? I should clarify. She was an extracurricular teacher. She wasn't like classroom teacher.
Oh,
She
okay.
came into the
Okay.
school and ran a club, right? she was 42, I was 17, and
Oh
yeah,
my God. Wow.
men madness. And so I should, yeah, it wasn't like school teacher,
Okay.
but I don't know if that matters or not.
Well,
But
it, well,
yeah, I
it's fine.
yeah yeah yeah, and also I don't have any bad feelings about it. I've gone on, a lot of people say that's abuse, that shouldn't have happened, and it probably shouldn't have. But you know what they don't know is that actually she was someone that I was able to tell her about these
Yeah.
feelings of wanting to be submissive to a woman whilst wearing like a pair of tights. Like, it's such a weird thing to
Mm,
have to say out loud to someone because you just assume like it's so weird. And the way that she was quite open about it
yeah.
actually was probably a huge part of was the yeah, like I said, it was the first time I ever told anyone.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
yeah, sorry, I don't know how much I've gabbled there. Is there
No, no,
anything?
it's fine. It's just, it's insightful. It's just, yeah, I've just never heard of it. Like I've heard like I've heard similar kind of stories, probably not involving hosiery, but it is. I think I think it got me was because yeah, it's sort of how you said like is that kind of like borderline abuse, but then at the same time, it's understanding your perspective from it as well. And yeah, I mean, I'm not one to judge at the end of the day. It is just I'm just glad you're speaking about it. It's just it's very interesting.
Yeah, it's
Is that
cool.
the
It's very
biggest
inspiring.
thing?
It's definitely makes me ask questions, but I'm a big lover of life.
Mm,
I mean, I guess I'm very privileged in that sense that I'm able to look at something like that and be like, oh, cool, it's part of the adventure.
yeah,
There are people that go through some pretty terrible things, and it's like they'd rather not have the story. But there were parts of it that did screw my head up, and it has affected me, and yada yada. And I'm sure there's a case for
yeah.
some people that I've spoken to have been like, that shouldn't have happened, or have gone really far, and be like, you should get her done and all that. I'm like,
Mhm.
absolutely not. There's so much more to it, and I'm absolutely fine. Everyone listening to this is going, you're not fine, mate. You're dressing up in tights and prancing around serving women, and you love it.
So, it's a non-judgmental space here, people.
Yeah.
Let's
Oh
just
yeah.
say
Hope
that.
there's a lot of people listening going, yeah, that's really fun too.
Oh yeah, what can you imagine? Oh gosh. So it's been a very interesting time as your teen. There's a lot that's gone on. I mean, just hearing it, there's a lot that's gone on in a very short space of time. But it's
Well,
yeah.
I then remember I moved to London when I was about
Mm,
20, and I'm still in this affair at this point. It went on
okay.
for 4 years.
Oh wow.
I've also had another girlfriend, but I went to Japan, right? This is a funny little side story. I went to Japan and I didn't speak the language of the girl I went to meet there.
Mm,
I'd met her previously in Australia and we dated a little bit. She doesn't speak English.
yeah.
It was one of those really youthful, awesome relationships.
Yeah.
And as in, we couldn't speak to each other. And I felt like I was at the star of my own international movie with
Yeah.
this big romance going off. Anyway, I the trip to Japan was different. I went for a month and we just couldn't really communicate, and it wasn't sex filled. It wasn't what I'd been at. She just took me as a guest into a family home. Anyway, on
Mm,
the day before I had to fly back on this massive high, and she's helping me organize my suitcase, and she starts unzipping things to put bags in that I've done.
oh
She's
yeah.
trying to clear the space. She unzips one of the pockets, and out falls a pair of sheer black tights, about
Yeah.
15 denier. She holds them up, and I'm like, so embarrassed. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my God, how the hell do I explain this to someone, let alone someone who doesn't have a clue really who I am or what language I speak?
Yeah.
And I just remember holding them up and giggling at me. And I was like, in hindsight, I'm like, I should have really relished that moment because it's super hot thinking about that. This
Yeah.
beautiful woman catching me and laughing at me. Well, she might not have even been laughing at me. That's
Yeah.
how our language barrier is such. But can you imagine that moment? Like, I'm in Nagoya in
Yeah.
Japan. I'm in a family home. And she pulled them out, this pair of like thin, sheer black, shiny tights. And I'm like,
Yeah.
ah. And I'm thinking, how did I even put them in? Maybe I put them in, because by that point, by late teens, I was going
Yeah.
away to hotels with work or for applying for colleges and stuff around the country. And I remember I used to take them in my bag.
Oh, okay.
And I'd every time I had to go to a hotel, would be the first thing I do was like, right, I'm taking some. And I'd
Yeah.
never bought them at this point. I'd always steal them. I'd steal them from sisters' friends. I'd steal them from. I worked at a co-op once. And I
Oh
stole
yeah.
them from co-op. I used to steal tights from the co-op. I used to go in the store and just take them from there. You know, they have the stock at the
Yeah.
back. How funny is that? But
Oh my gosh.
used to run around every opportunity. I work in theatre and film a lot, and in my early years did that on a youth basis. So
Yeah,
there was always an opportunity in a dressing room or a costume store. I found ways, and it's always been at the forefront of everything I've done. I've been like,
yeah,
there's always somewhere where someone's got some tights, and you hopefully can find an opportunity to nick them and take them to your next hotel visit or when everyone's out of the house, and you put them on.
yeah. Wow. Oh wow. Oh
Yeah.
God. It's a good job your video is off because God, can you imagine someone's like watching it, be like, oh my God, he's stealing stuff basically.
Yeah, he's stealing tights from supermarkets.
Oh
That
God.
would be a way to out me, wouldn't it?
I know. Oh my God. So yeah, no,
I
so
love it if you're
so,
like, okay, at the end of the call there, Mcsheer. Thanks for your time.
yeah.
Bye.
So I was gonna say, so like sort of your early 20s, mid 20s, what was that like in the sense of obviously on your hosiery journey and because obviously we're getting quite wild and wonderful here.
Yeah, well, it was the beginning of the you move away. This conflict about being a man and being able to want to date girls in the same way that I felt everyone did, and dealing with these desires was troubling. Actually, I
Yeah,
couldn't bear it, but didn't even talk to. I can't. I'm really regretful that I didn't come out to one of my girl mates. When I hear what some people got to do and have fun with,
yeah,
that I don't know why I was working in masculine environments. But also I don't know. I just got it in my head that you know, I still didn't quite know what it was. I didn't quite. You know what I mean? I couldn't even say the word tights. It's only past 2, 3 years I'm able to say that word.
oh wow,
Like I physically couldn't say the word. And when I heard someone say it in any context, I go bright red. It's only when I
okay,
secretly,
yeah,
I'd hear someone say the word, and I go, like, I just try and look down, look, and it's such a bizarre, irrational reaction.
yeah,
And I used to disguise it by overdoing it with stockings. I'd talk about stockings because I knew it was popular amongst men's
yeah,
interests. I'd be like, yeah, stockings are great. Yeah, I like wearing stockings for a laugh. Do you know what I mean? It felt safe because like everyone jokes about that.
yeah,
And there was something about tights. I was like, God, does like because for me that's different. Like, I love stockings. I think they're beautiful, but they don't turn me on.
yeah.
Tights, it's like, wow. It's and now it's have you ever come across that? Is that weird for you to imagine?
No, I can kind of get it in the sense of it, it's encasement, but not like because when you think of encasement, you think of full body encasement. But
Yeah, yeah.
it's very I can understand from the perspective of it's the bottom half of you that's totally like encased in this material, and it is. I can understand why stockings would be different because one, it's the
It's
fact.
somehow I might be on my own here, but it's somehow more socially acceptable for a guy to wear stockings than it is tights.
See, I don't know. I say I don't know just because a lot of people that I've spoken to, whether it's through DMs or on the series and just anywhere and everywhere, basically, tights is a very big thing. That more than hold ups and stockings, I've noticed.
Yeah.
Not many guys wear hold ups and stockings, and I think, I mean, I could be completely wrong, but I think my perception of it all is just the fact that like obviously as a male and you know the male anatomy it is that whole encasement and it just I,
Interesting.
I can't really describe it but
Yeah,
I
I
know
can
what I
see I
mean.
can completely see why that's why you'd have that perspective. And you know what? I bet it's true for many. I bet it's actually bang on. But what's also, I think, curious about it, I genuinely think that it's somehow more. I think there are more cultural references to men that wear stockings. It's in more porn. It's in more jokes. It's in more things. Tights. Every time sometimes when I've noticed in life a woman seeing a man who's in stockings, the reaction is very much, or guys seeing another man who's in stockings, the
Mm,
reaction is very much like, oh yeah, a bit of kinky stuff. When it's tights, the reaction
yeah,
will, from many people, be what? Tights, like, and then they'll go on to go, what, women's tights, like that. It's seen as a different thing, and I wonder if perversely it's sort of buried in us all that it's even more um forbidden than stocking. I think stockings are forbidden, but I think tights are almost more forbidden. like culturally. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I
it's sorry, go on.
no, that's it. That's sort of it. It's always been confusing for girls that I've tried to come out to. The first thing
Mhm.
they say, you go, "Oh, what, like stockings and that?" And I'll go, and you're asking me about my 20s and all that.
Yeah.
It's at that time when I'd be so scared, and I go, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, stockings and that."
Yeah.
Still not confident to go, "No, no, no, no. I would like you to wear tights." And you know what? Dare I say it? I want to wear tights. I want you to make me wear tights. All these different things that it goes so,
Yeah.
it's so specific. But just on a surface layer, this stockings tights thing, the amount of times I'd give up and be like, yeah, yeah, cool. Wear stockings then. Yeah, I'm into it.
Mm.
Like, and I'd be like, you know what? I do like the feel. I do like the look. I'd never bother wearing them though. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
whatever. If I wear them, I have to wear tights underneath, and then it's
Oh,
kind of cool.
okay, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get that. I know a lot of men who tend to do that, both straight and cross dresses
Yeah.
and everything in between. I know a lot of men who tend to do that just
Are
because
we
they prefer a tight base layer, and then if they want to layer on top, yeah, it would be stockings or hold ups or something.
right? So that's an image-based thing as well. Then that's literally for how they want to look. Because I get that. I think when I'm dressing up, that's the look I'd want to go for. But
Yeah.
there's also just how it feels. And like you said, the encasement thing. But I've got no desire to wear like top half or on my head or anything like that. Because
Mm.
that you mentioned cross dressing there, or straight or cross dress. Like, do you think you can be straight and a cross dresser?
Yeah, I think you can. If you asked me this a good few years ago, I'd have been like, no. But I think there's a lot of I sort of the way I perceive it is there's a lot of men who are straight, and you know what? They're very secure in their sexuality. Like they're like, yeah, I'm happy as a masculine man, da da da. But you get some that have a bit of a feminine side, but they're happy and secure enough in themselves to go and explore their feminine side.
And
And
and when you say explore the feminine side, do you mean date a guy while they're dressed up, or do you mean just dress up?
so a bit of both. Only because this is what I mean. I've spoken to so many different people and I've had so many different things. But it's like I've known a couple of like I know a couple of men who are straight and they're happily married, but they prefer to get in touch with their feminine side, whether it is they just fancy just being in that moment and they're with their wife and just say they're doing face masks or anything kind of what you relate to
Yeah.
feminine and beauty, they're happy to do that. And then I've also known men who basically, while they are cross-dressing and they're happily married men, but it is
Mm.
because their wife doesn't accept it for whatever reason, or they've not spoken to their wife, however, they'd rather dress up and be their true feminine self and actually go and basically have an affair with a guy. And like I said, no judgment or anything. Like people do what you want to do, but it is. I've had so many different stories, and it's like wow. And that's what I mean. I'm so open to it now because it is like wow. This is like really cool. It's just so interesting, and it is just. And I think that's the thing. The more I hear it, the more I understand people's perceptions about why they do what they do. So
It's so yeah. I think you're right, and I mean, it because I think I don't sort of care, as it were, about myself anymore. I've been through so many
yeah.
thoughts, but I think I'm straight. Like I fancy girls, and
Mm,
yeah, I fancy girls, and I have always dated girls, but I've explored with two other they call themselves transvestites. I call
okay.
myself one, to be honest. But and I didn't enjoy it at all when they defemmed. Just wasn't
Yeah.
interested at all. And I've never it's not something I've never had the feelings. I've never had the impulse to
Yeah.
be with a guy. So but it has been confusing because there was a period of time where I was like, I literally must be gay because this is what
Yeah.
I do. I must be and I really thought I was for a long time. But
Yeah.
weirdly kept having fantasies about dominatrixes and beautiful women and but the women dressed in a certain way. Do you know what I mean? I don't fancy girls if they don't have to wear skirts all the time. I'm not like I say, I'm talking about my animalistic desires here.
Yeah.
Remove the human being brain. I'm not that much of
Yeah.
an idiot, but when I do prefer it when I've been with girls, they tend to be ones that love wearing skirts and tights all the time. It's just part
Mm,
of it because I'm like, yeah, I couldn't possibly be. The amount of times I hear women go, "Oh, I hate tights, don't wear them." They could be the most
yeah.
beautiful woman in the world by loads of men's accounts, and I'm just like so turned off immediately. Would rather be with those ober femme guys when they're dressed up. Do you know what I mean? It's
Mm.
but I don't know if I genuinely would. It's like I don't fancy them as men at all. So yeah, it's a complicated
Yeah.
thing. I'm still not really sure. I don't, and like I said at the beginning, I'm trying to not really care because I've got a lovely partner at the minute, a
Mhm.
girlfriend, and she's yeah. We'll get to that.
Yeah, no, well, fair, because I was gonna say, like, because we're gonna slowly come to an end, which I really don't want it to.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
really
yeah.
don't want it to. But I'm telling you now, please, can we do a part two? Like, you need to come on for a part two because I'm so invested in this.
Right, yeah. I've only because I've just got to my
Unreal.
20s. I've gabbled
I know we're
loads.
just
Yeah.
scratching the surface here, but no, it's been. Do you know what? It's very. I'm actually very, very glad you came on because one, it's been very insightful. We've not had a conversation like this on the series yet. So that's another thing I'm totally thankful for. And it's just, one thing I love about it is it's just real and raw. And I think it's, you know what, personally for me, it's really, really nice to hear. And I'm sure obviously a lot of other people would be like, oh my God, yeah, like this is so
Wow.
different to what normally comes on. So
Wow.
no, I really do appreciate you coming on today.
No, well, listen, it's a real pleasure. I'm sorry that I probably talked a lot around a lot of things and could have got through it quicker. But yeah, we'll do a part two, hopefully at a time. Well, hopefully, I don't know how soon you'd need to do it, but I'll try and get
Well,
into my fem self for you so we can visualize it. But
yes. Oh my God, yes.
I
Yes.
should make promises I can't keep, right?
See, that's what I'm trying. Well, I always try and keep my promise, but yeah, this is why I stopped promising stuff because it's like, can I keep that? Can I
Yeah,
try
yeah.
to do that?
If I'm like hanging out of a van somewhere because we've arranged a time and I'm doing it on my
Oh
laptop from a
no.
service station, just
Oh,
stick my
that's
heels
funny.
on.
Oh, she did. Oh
Um,
goodness.
I yeah, I So yeah, that's sort of just where I got to in my 20s. I don't.
Yeah.
Should I save the rest for next time?
Yeah, you know what? Please do, because honestly, I want to hear the rest of this journey. If this is up to 20s, I know there's
Yeah,
going to be some juicy stuff coming up in
and
part
I've only given you
two.
highlights as well. Like I think there's some funny time. There's some experiences. You know, it's the experiences having this kind of secret forces you to do. Like we mentioned,
Yeah,
stealing them earlier, but the places I've dressed up to quickly try it, or the people's
yeah,
houses, or the different environments. There's so many of them to share, and
yeah.
yeah, each one of them is its own little story, which you may or may not have an interest in, which is fine either way. But yeah, there's lots more to tell. And as I say, I'm now in my first relationship where I've told my partner about it,
Yeah.
and she's been accepting of it and slowly kind of getting into it, which is quite
Oh,
rewarding.
yeah, I was gonna say, I'm sure that's like
Because now we
everything
start
you
talk.
dreamed of.
Well, yeah, yeah, but also it starts questioning. We talked a lot about just then about being straight, gay, cross-dresser, straight, and what is the answer if there is one.
Mhm.
But suddenly it's like, well, hang on, if there's a female who comes around to it and starts enjoying it, what she thinks she's making love to, it's like sometimes does she quite like being attracted to another female?
Yeah.
I mean, I know loads of women are like, ugh, disgusting men should not be like this. They should be big, strong men that throw me around the room. And it's like,
Oh,
well, try everything, I say, because
yes.
it's when I've gone this subby and femmy, when I go back to my male self, I actually become
Yeah.
much more alpha male. But
Yeah.
until I've got that shit off my chest,
Yeah.
I'm richly pathetic. I'm sorry to disappoint. I'm like, God, unless you're gonna let me prance around, I'm not gonna be able to be a man, quote
Oh
unquote, for
God.
it. Anyway,
No,
I keep gabbling, Sony.
no, no, it's cool. So all I want to say, all I want to ask is, and I obviously ask this to everybody. So if obviously because there's going to be a lot of people watching this, and oh, I can't wait for the comments to come in. I always sort of ask the person whoever I get on, if you could leave a message, for the viewers watching, what would your message be?
If I could leave a message for the viewers watching, I'm assuming all the people watching this have searched on the platform tights, crossdresser, or things like that. What's my message? My message is more of a question. Can we get to a place where we are all able to sort of keep that thing that makes it sexy in a secret, but whilst have it, like I'm just going, how do we get to a place where everyone is a lot, you know what? How do we have an event a bit like Pride, that's
Yeah.
focused on hose lovers? Can we have an event that starts so everyone comes together, does it, and it sort of shows our women or our men, if you've got a male partner or
Yeah.
whatever, that actually there's loads of us, and it's just fun, and it's not.
Yeah.
It's can that be? Is that a thing that just exists in my head, or is it something that somehow we can generate and do? Is that a statement or a question? I don't know.
Oh, well, yes.
Write your answers below, because I have
Yeah.
loads of reasons why that won't happen, and loads of fantasy reasons how it could possibly happen. I'll write one in as
Yeah.
well.
That would be blooming amazing if that happened. Oh my
You know what
God.
I mean? Pantyhose Pride.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God, yes. That should be the name. Okay, right. Okay. I kind of want to start a movement thing now. I want to do
Yeah.
I really want to do this now. Oh my God, that would be so amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God.
I'm glad you like the idea.
I'm buzzing
I'll come
about
back,
it now.
see what people say underneath, and I hope you like my picture in this video. That was something from a storyboard for a film I tried to make for someone like us, who's with his girlfriend and he's walking around Soho dressed like a Playboy bunny. If you can't make it out, my drawing's not great.
I know, don't worry, everybody. I kind of questioned the same thing, and he explained it to me, so it was okay.
I've even drawn the little hairs poking out of his fishnets or his shears.
Oh, I can't even. Oh God, so detailed, so intricate. I love it. I love it. Well, anyway, so you know what, Mcsheer, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. You've been amazing.
Oh my
Thank you.
god.
Thank
No,
you so much.
not at all. I'm really glad to have been a part of it, and lovely to have met you again after speaking to you on the podcast. But
Yeah.
yeah, see you again.
Yes, until next time, and thank you everybody for watching. Watch out for part 2 because I'm telling you now, part 2 is gonna be here soon. I'm not
And,
gonna leave you guys like waiting months and months for this. I can't. I can't.
and just quickly, just for everyone, thank you, Soni. It's really nice that we get people like you to talk to. I know it sounds a bit pansy and that, or whatever. I'll probably get shot down for saying that word, but you know what? It's part of making a lot of us very happy. So I hope you're making a living out of it and it's going well for you.
Oh
It's
no,
really
thank
helpful.
you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. All
And
right,
now we
well,
got
take care and
bye
until
bye.
next time.
See you next time.
See ya.